Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into something, well, pretty fundamental. It's this idea of success. Because, let's be honest, the definition we usually get feels really limited. The default is almost always just money. Financial wealth equals the ultimate goal.
It really is the default, isn't it? We kind of absorb it without even thinking. The source we're looking at calls it cultural osmosis.
Cultural osmosis, I like that.
Yeah, this narrow idea that just chasing financial gain is everything, and you know where that leads.
Oh, definitely. Burnout, right?
Yeah.
And maybe even hitting that goal and feeling hollow. Like, is this it?
Exactly that, a hollow sense of achievement. So our mission today really is to cut through that.
Okay.
We're exploring this transformative framework from Sahil Bloom. It's about redesigning life around 5 essential types of wealth.
5 types.
Okay.
So this is like a shortcut for you, the listener, to build a life portfolio that's actually designed for, let's say, durable satisfaction, not just temporary gains.
Precisely. Durable satisfaction. And the 5 types. We've got time wealth, social wealth, mental wealth, physical wealth, and yes, financial wealth is still in there.
Right. It's not ignored, but it's part of a bigger picture.
Exactly. The secret sauce isn't just knowing the types, it's finding that balance between them.
Okay, so let's get into the backstory here. Because the author's own experience really highlights what goes wrong when you just max out one area.
It does. He spent years in finance. You know the drill, 80, sometimes 100-hour rents.
Wow.
And he genuinely believed, like many do, that climbing that financial ladder would eventually bring happiness, solve everything.
The default script, as you said earlier.
Totally. He was winning the money game, no doubt. But kind of ignoring these other huge non-renewable assets in his life.
Until the wake-up call, which I gather was pretty dramatic. It happened in May 2021.
Yeah, dramatic and starkly simple. It came during a chat with an old friend.
Okay.
So, context. He was living 3,000 miles away from his parents. They were in their mid-60s.
And he wasn't seeing them much.
Barely, maybe once a year. He mentioned this to his friend, just casually.
And the friend just did the math.
Right there on the spot. Just simple, brutal math.
Tell us, what was the number?
The friend basically said, okay, based on average life expectancy, you're probably going to see your parents about 15 more times before they die.
Wow. 15. Just hearing that number, it lands like a punch, doesn't it?
It was the punch in the gut for him. Suddenly, he could put this finite, incredibly small number on his remaining time with people he loved.
15 times. That's terrifying. It just instantly showed how incomplete his definition of success really was.
Totally exposed it.
But here's the part that gives me pause and maybe gives our listener pause too. What happened next was incredibly fast.
Yeah.
Within 45 days, he quits the high-flying finance job, sells his house, moves 3,000 miles across the country.
A complete life reset. Boom.
Which is amazing. That one move changed his time from those potential 15 visits to, quote, in the hundreds. He regained control of his time wealth.
A massive shift.
But I have to ask the critical question right now. Is this kind of radical change, this framework, really only for people who have the financial cushion to just quit a job like that, sell a house in 45 days?
That's a really important question.
What about the person listening who feels stuck?
Huh?
Who is maybe more risk-averse, who can't just make that huge leap?
Right. And that's a fair challenge. The author himself acknowledges his pivot was, extreme. But the framework's goal isn't necessarily about making that specific move.
Okay.
It's about redefining the assets you already have some control over. And that's actually why time wealth is often discussed first. It's the most fundamental.
Got it. So it's not just about quitting your job tomorrow. It's about understanding these different assets. Let's define them clearly then.
Absolutely. So number 1, time wealth. This is really about freedom, autonomy. Do you have control over how, where, and, crucially, with whom you spend your time? Remember, it's non-renewable.
Non-renewable. Key point. Okay, what's next?
Social wealth. This is all about the quality and depth of your relationships. Not just the number of contacts, but real connection.
Okay. Third.
Mental wealth. This covers a lot where purpose, your sense of identity, growth, but also having the mental space for, say, solitude or wrestling with those bigger, maybe unanswerable questions.
Interesting. Number 4.
Physical wealth. Pretty straightforward. Your health, your vitality, your energy levels. Can't do much without it.
True. And finally, the one we started with.
Financial wealth. Yes, money. But, and this is the crucial nuance, it's about understanding money in relation to your personal definition of enough.
Enough. That word seems really important here.
It's central to avoiding the trap.
Okay, let's zoom in on time well first. It sounds so obvious time is precious, but we waste it constantly, don't we? Like it's infinite.
We absolutely do.
Yeah.
There's this concept used in the source, the time billionaire.
Right, I've heard that. What does it actually mean in practice?
It's a mental model, a way to jolt you into awareness. Think about it. If you have, say, 20 more years of healthy, relatively free time ahead of you, you are, in a very real sense, wealthier than almost anyone who's ever lived.
That's a powerful reframe.
And the source poses this brilliant, slightly provocative question to hammer it home. Would you trade lives, right now, today, with Warren Buffett?
Okay, well, he's worth, what, $130 billion?
Right.
Flies private, reads all day. Sounds tempting.
But he's 95 years old.
Exactly. And almost everyone instantly says no. No trade. Why?
Because you'd be trading away your time. Decades of your life, potentially. You'd be trading your most irreplaceable asset, the time you have left, for a huge but ultimately measurable amount of money.
Yeah.
It shows time has this, incalculable value that dwarfs even megabillions.
Puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift to social wealth. We know intuitively and scientifically that connection matters. But the sources mention a worrying trend right now.
Yeah, it's genuinely described as terrifying. The trend of loneliness.
Right.
We're seeing data, for instance, that teenagers today spend something like 70% less time in person with their friends compared to just 2 decades ago.
70%, that's staggering. Technology was meant to connect us more.
But often it seems to have stripped away the necessary friction, the stuff that actually builds real bonds.
And we have hard evidence on the long-term cost of isolation, right?
Yeah.
That huge Harvard study.
The 85-year Harvard study of adult development.
Yeah.
Incredible longitudinal data. And the finding was just stunning.
What was the single biggest predictor of physical health way down the line at age 80?
It wasn't your cholesterol at 50. It wasn't your blood pressure. It was how satisfied you were with your relationships back in midlife.
Wow. Relationship satisfaction at 50 predicts physical health at 80.
Directly. It underscores that when we get busy, when we start thinking purely transactionally about our time, relationships are often the first ball we drop.
Yeah.
And the long-term cost is enormous.
Okay, but speaking of transactional, let's tackle that head on. This is a potential criticism, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we start talking to relationships as wealth or assets to be managed, doesn't that risk making it feel cold, instrumental?
It's a very valid concern. And the author actually flags this too. You know, if you're setting up a personal CRM to schedule texts to friends you don't genuinely care about just to maintain the asset, yeah, that feels pretty dehumanizing.
Right, that's optimization gone wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the tools offered for boosting social wealth aren't about that. They're actually about more authentic engagement.
Is that the help, herd, or hugged thing?
That's the one. It's simple but powerful. When someone comes to you with a problem, your instinct might be to jump in and fix it.
Offer advice, solutions, yeah.
But instead, pause. Ask them what they actually need in that moment. Do they want practical advice or help? That's help. Do they just need comfort and support? That's hugged. Or do they simply need someone to truly listen without judgment? That's heard.
Help, heard, or hugged. I like that. It shifts the focus.
Completely. It turns a potentially transactional problem-solving moment into one focused on genuine connection and meeting their actual need. And the deeper insight there is interesting too.
What's that?
That sometimes the very friction technology removes, just sitting and talking while kids play or having unstructured hangouts, that friction was actually what created the meaning and depth in our social lives.
We smooth things out, but maybe smooth out the good stuff too.
Okay, let's move to mental wealth. This feels super relevant, especially for people maybe hitting mid-career bumps or thinking about big life changes.
Absolutely. Identity is a huge part of mental wealth. If your whole sense of self is tied up in, say, a high-pressure job title, and then that job goes away,
Your mental scaffolding can just collapse.
it really can. So the framework offers a couple of key ideas here. First, regarding identity itself. It leans on the old philosophical thought experiment, the ship of Theseus.
Right. Remind the listener what that is. Okay, so imagine a ship. Over centuries, every single wooden plank is replaced, one by one. The question is, after all the original planks are gone, is it still the same ship?
The identity puzzle.
Exactly. And the point for mental wealth isn't really to answer the puzzle definitively. It's to embrace the idea that you are like that ship. You're in a constant state of change, learning, evolving.
So there's no fixed old me versus new me.
Not really, just continuous flow, learning, growth, accepting that constant change is key for mental resilience, especially during transitions. It stops you from clinging too tightly to a past identity.
Okay, that makes sense. Less rigidity. What's the second tool for mental wealth, for clarity?
It's something called mental time travel.
Sounds intriguing.
It's a fairly simple. You consciously project yourself forward. Imagine yourself at, say, 80 years old. You're looking back on your life. What would your ideal 80-year-old self hope you had focused on? What advice would they give your current self?
Using your future wise self as a guide.
Precisely. It acts as a filter for today's decisions. It helps you see past the immediate, often alluring short-term distractions, maybe chasing fame, or just accumulating more and more money that doesn't actually align with that long-term, deeply held vision of a good life.
Which brings us neatly to the last one. Financial wealth. The author mentioned this was actually the hardest to write about just because there's so much noise around money already.
Yeah, it's saturated territory, so the focus isn't on specific investment strategies or budgeting tips, really. It comes back to that core question.
What is money actually for?
Exactly. And that leads straight into the problem of enough. There's fascinating research on this. Michael Norton at Harvard Business School studied high net worth individuals.
Okay, what did he find?
He asked them, regardless of their current wealth, whether they had $1 million or $100 million, how much more money they'd need to feel completely happy.
And the answer was?
Consistently, across the board, they said they needed about 2 to 3 times their current net worth.
2 to 3 times. Doesn't matter if they have millions or hundreds of millions.
Didn't matter. The millionaire needed 2-3 million. The guy with 100 million needed 200-300 million.
That sounds exactly like the definition of a hedonic treadmill. The goalpost just keeps moving.
That's precisely what it is. Our brains are just not wired well to handle abstract numeric goals like net worth. You hit a number, your internal benchmark resets almost immediately, and suddenly you need more to get that same feeling of satisfaction or security.
It's an endless chase. So if setting a specific dollar amount is the trap, what's the proposed solution?
Instead of aiming for an enough number, the idea is to define an enough life.
An enough life. What does that look like?
It means getting specific, visual, tangible, not, I need $5 million, but I want a life where I can paint for 2 hours every morning, take 3 international trips a year with my family, be home for dinner 4 nights a week, and not stress about unexpected bills.
So describe the life the money is supposed to enable.
Exactly. That concrete, vivid picture of the life you're building is far less likely to keep inflating subconsciously compared to just chasing a bigger and bigger number.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we have these 5 types of wealth. How do we balance them? Because life isn't static, right? We have seasons.
Totally. It's perfectly normal, even necessary, to have seasons where you lean more heavily into one area. Maybe your 20s and 30s involve a strong focus on building financial wealth.
Or maybe you're recovering from an illness, and physical wealth has to be priority number 1.
Absolutely. The danger isn't the shifting focus. The danger is the on-off switch mentality.
Explain that.
It's where we say, okay, I'm focusing 100% on my career now. I'll just turn off my health focus, turn off my deep relationships. I'll get back to them in 5 years when I've made it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do that, consciously or not.
But the reality check is harsh. Those areas you switch off completely, especially things like relationships and physical health. If they're off for too long, they become incredibly difficult, sometimes impossible, to just flip back on later. You can't just defer quality time or health maintenance indefinitely.
Okay, so if it's not on-off switches, what's the alternative model?
Think of them as dimmer switches.
Dimmer switches. Okay.
All 5 areas, time, social, mental, physical, financial, should always have some light. One switch might be turned up really high during a particular season. That's your primary focus. But the others are never completely off, never completely dark. They're dimmed, maybe low, but still active.
I like that visual. Keep all the lights on, even if some are low. Why is that so important?
It ties into the compounding principle. And this is a huge insight, especially for ambitious people.
Okay.
The principle is anything above 0 compounds in your life.
Anything above 0 compounds. Explain that.
We often fall into this trap where we let the optimal plan become the enemy of any benefit.
Give an example of that. The optimal versus benefit trap.
Okay, classic example. Fitness. You think, ideally, I should do a full 60-minute workout. I don't have 60 minutes today, so I guess I'll just do nothing.
Right. All or nothing thinking.
Exactly. That's letting optimal, the 60-minute workout, block any benefit. The reality is that 15-minute walk or even just 10 minutes of focus stretching, it's infinitely better than 0.
Because it's above 0.
because it's above zero. And those small, non-zero actions, the 15-minute walk, the 10 pages read, the quick check-in call with a friend, they stack up. They compound over time, just like financial investments do. Keeping the dimmer switch slightly on maintains that momentum.
That's a really powerful, actionable idea. It lowers the barrier to entry. Okay, let's circle back to that listener we mentioned earlier. The one who feels stuck, maybe overwhelmed, maybe risk-averse. They hear all this, it sounds good, but they can't just quit their job. What's the single best, lowest risk, practical tool they can use, like tomorrow?
Okay, for that person, the energy calendar is probably the perfect starting point. It comes from the time wealth section, but it impacts everything.
Energy calendar. How does it work?
Super simple. No financial risk, just requires a bit of reflection. At the end of your day, or maybe at the end of the week, look back at your actual calendar, your schedule, what you did.
Yeah.
Then color code those activities. Use green for things that genuinely created energy for you, things that lifted you up. Yellow for neutral activities. And red for things that drained your energy, that pulled you down.
Green for energy gain, red for energy drain, yellow for neutral.
Got it. And the goal isn't necessarily to eliminate all red overnight. That's probably unrealistic. The goal is to first become aware of the ratio.
Just see where your energy is actually going.
Exactly, see the patterns. Then you start strategically. Can any red activities be delegated? Can you change your approach to make them less draining? Can some be pruned entirely over time?
And presumably, consciously try to schedule more green.
That's the other side of it. Actively look for ways to inject more green activities, even small ones, into your week. It's about slowly, incrementally improving that green or red ratio.
Low cost, low risk, high potential insight.
Precisely. It's a very practical way to start regaining a sense of control and identifying where you can make small shifts that have a big impact on your overall well-being without needing a massive life upheaval.
That feels like a really solid place for anyone to start.
Mm.
So, wrapping things up, the core message here, echoing the author's own journey, seems to be, you likely have more control over your time and how you design your life than you currently believe.
Absolutely. And understanding that time is ultimately your most precious, finite asset is the foundation.
It all comes back to time.
It really does. And maybe one final thought to leave our listeners with, building on that mental wealth piece.
Yeah.
We're entering this era of advanced AI, right? Things are changing fast. And it seems increasingly likely that the most valuable human skills won't be about rote knowledge or pure analytical power, because AI will excel there.
So what will be valuable?
The ability to question the defaults, to fight our own natural intellectual arrogance, our confirmation biases, the capacity to wrestle with complex, ambiguous, maybe even those unanswerable questions we talked about.
The skills of critical thinking, perspective taking.
Exactly, the kind of broad contextual thinking that, maybe the humanities and liberal arts have always championed. Understanding values, meaning the human condition across time and space. These might become more critical than ever in designing a truly rich, multifaceted life that goes beyond what an algorithm can optimize.
Yeah, that's a fascinating final thought. The enduring value of deep thinking in an age of artificial intelligence.
Something to chew on.
Definitely. So maybe a good exercise for everyone listening is just to take a moment and think about your own 5 dimmer switches. Are they all on, even if some are low? Or have you let 1 or 2 fade completely to black without realizing it? Food for thought. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.